Motors and Meats here. Today we're dealing with a squealing alternator belt. The car is a 2009 Porsche 911 Carrera S. That means it's a 997.2, and our alternator belt is going to be buried down here beneath this airbox. So let's get everything together and we'll get right on this. So you saw what I'm dealing with on the dusty road situation. Everything out here is just covered in dust. So while we've got everything out, we'll go ahead and take the opportunity to clean everything up. All you need to take the airbox out is a flathead or Phillips head screwdriver, doesn't matter which, or if you have this size, I think it's a 7mm, you could just put that on there and take that hose clamp off. Not sure about the hose clamp size, but I know the flathead works, so that's what I'm using. We just need to take this loose, and then we're going to take loose the mass airflow sensor, and then I have one more plug on this side that I'll show you whenever we get ready for that, and the airbox just lifts right out. Get it all the way loose so that you can get it up and over that edge out of the way. I'm just going to keep backing it out until it's easy to deal with, because it's just a few more turns when you're putting it back together again. You really have to squeeze around here to get this to come loose, and putting it back on, it's really important that you get it back on right, otherwise you're going to have air flowing right past this. So once you have this loose, you can just pull this back all the way around and get it totally loose from the throttle body. I always like to put my fingers underneath it to make sure it's totally pulled loose, and then we know it's not going to hang up on there anymore. Next, we have a vacuum line that attaches on the side if you have an S model. If you don't, I don't believe you have this vacuum line. Let me show it to you. This piece just clips onto the side of the airbox with this clip right here, and it does have the vacuum connection there, but I think we can just shift it back. There we go, and now it's disconnected. I think it may go through and connect to the underside of the airbox. We'll check that in a minute. So lift it out really carefully because our MAF is still connected and the other end of that vacuum line is still connected. There we go. I really want to just turn this over so I can see how to get to the mass airflow sensor connection, because it's a little stubborn. Also, let's see how this is connected. Oh yeah, there's a hard line and a soft line over here. So I'm just going to pull this soft line off if I can. Hopefully that'll just rotate loose. Yeah, there we go. It's coming. Okay, that's loose. I'm going to set that to the side. Now I only have to worry about my MAF cable right here. I can never tell if these things are a push or a pull. Okay, that definitely took some persuasion. This button on the back of here, it does press to raise up the opposite end of it. It hinges back like that. Once you get it popped loose, then this thing will wiggle off. So with that out of the way, this airbox can come completely out now. So with that out of the way, you can see a couple things. One, you can see the belt right here, and this thing, look at that, that's got a fray on it. I'm sure that's not the only fray, but you can also see what living on a dirt road does to your car. Oh my goodness. I'm going to definitely have to change my air filter too, and we'll do a separate video on that. It's basically the same thing except for we'll open up that airbox. After I get this belt off, I'll go ahead and thoroughly clean all this up before I put everything back together again. And we'll see how long it stays clean between now and the time that I do my air filter. So how do we loosen this up? We've got to get to the belt tensioner and put a socket on it and then rock that socket one way or the other, and that will loosen the belt up. And then we can just pop this one off and stick the new one on. A few things to note and identify. This is your alternator. If that fails, that's what you've got to change. On the 996, that was a real pain in the butt. You've got these two bolts right here. It looks like it might be an easier job on this than it was the 996. This is your power steering pump, and that's where your power steering fluid goes. This, again, is your throttle body. This is your air conditioning condenser, compressor, whichever. And this is your oil filter over here. This pulley way down here is attached to the main crank, the engine crankshaft. And your water pump, it's down here somewhere. I haven't done the water pump on this one yet, thankfully. but I know it's somewhere associated with this belt right here. So right down underneath the alternator, this is your tensioner right here. We're going to rotate this. We're going to put a socket onto this and rotate it, and that's going to make this pulley swivel down out of the way so that the belt can come off. One step I almost forgot to mention is that we need to remove this license plate to get to the bolt that holds the engine carrier on, because it'll be in the way and it'll prevent us from being able to put the belt in place or take the old one off. Alright, this one is a 16mm bolt on an extension is what we're going to need to get into there to get that bolt out. Straight through that hole right there. I'm going to just zoom in here and try to brighten up and see if I can make it visible at all. Anyway, trust me when I tell you that there is a 16mm bolt straight through that hole. And when you come up top, you can see which bolt it is that we're trying to get loose. It's going to be that guy right there. And that's because it's going to be in the way of getting the belt over the crank pulley. There's a lot of torque on that. Hold that thought. Sometimes you just need a little extra persuasion. And I do have a magnet in case I need it, but I think if it falls, it's just going to fall down onto the ground. Guess the magnet will be needed. Alright, I got the stupid bolt out. It is a 16mm, and if you have a magnetic socket, please use that magnetic socket. Don't be a fool like I did and just think that you can just pull it out and don't worry if it falls and then use your weak magnet. It's not going to work. I ended up tying on a name badge magnet to a ribbon and sticking it off down to that hole, and it took me about 30 minutes to fish this stupid thing out, because while it's plenty strong enough to lift it, it was laying in there sideways and it did not want to rotate enough for me to be able to get it up and out of there. What a pain in the butt. Learn from my mistake, please. Holy cow. Now I've got to figure out what that actually benefited me, because the more I look at it, the less I feel like I know what I'm doing. So we're going to figure this out together in typical Motors and Meats fashion. Now we've just got to get this down onto this right here, and we should be able to pull it this way to release the tension. Let me see if I can do that. Oh, that takes a lot. Holy cow. If you have a 30mm, use that. This crescent wrench, I've got it sized down. This should work just fine. We're not trying to actually turn this bolt. We're trying to use this as a pivot point to rotate this downward so that the belt will go slack enough to slide off. Let's see if we can do that. I don't know how much pressure I can apply with this. We may need a cheater. Oh yeah, that's a lot of pressure, but we got it. Okay, it's off now, so I'm going to ease off of that. Wow, okay. That seemed like a lot more trouble than on the 996. Now I'm winded. Anyway, so we need to make sure we put this back on the same way that it came off. This up and over the alternator belt, underneath the power steering, up and over the air conditioning. And now we're loose. And where do we go from here? Now I'm not seeing how I'm supposed to get it out from around the crank. The water pump is loose down here, and then this tensioner, of course, it's just coming up from the water pump and then back down around the crank. So I'm going to slip that off. And then I just got to figure out how to get it out from around here. So taking that bolt out was supposed to do that for us. I just don't really understand how. I just figured it out. This is where that bolt was going through. It came all the way from back behind the license plate into a hole here, through this tube, and into, I guess, the block. But this tube has got to move out of the way. I just felt it, and it looks like it is loose somehow. So I've got to figure out how to get it loose from here so that we can... There we go. It's just moving up and down now. See, watch. There we go. I guess it just slides out of the way. Yeah, it's kind of rotating. Here we go, here we go. So I had to just sort of pull back pressure against this engine carrier plate to loosen it up just enough to slide it up and out from in between this way. So when we go back, we're going to come in here and then down into place and let it wedge into place there. Now we can get this out of here. Almost no room right here between the engine carrier and the outside of this pulley down in this slot right here. So the belt is going to have to go sideways to get it down through there. Like that. There we go. We feed it on past, reach from underneath. I should be able to just pull it out now, I think. Except I'm still hung up on something else, but that's okay. Just gonna keep messing with it. And then we'll let you know when we figure it out. All right, so we're back where we were. Now let me see if I can figure out how to fold it sideways and bring it up past this pulley. I'm gonna do that from, maybe I'll have to go underneath, maybe I won't. Let me find, let's see if I can get my hand on the other end of this. I got it! Disregard the fact that I cut it. So now I really do have to figure out how to get it back on because we can't cut the new one. I've decided after reading on Renlist and Rentec that I'm going to install this new belt from the top side down, turning it sideways to slide it past this crankshaft pulley, which is the tightest space right there. I cannot fit one finger between that space there. So I'm going to make sure this gets all the way down underneath that and then down far enough to get to the water pump. Okay, that's freaking done. Every time I do a job that I think is super easy, I'm like, I'm not gonna change clothes, I'm just gonna wear what I'm wearing. And then I end up ruining my clothes. Anyway, yeah, the belt is on there. I have a suspicion that I may actually need a new tensioner because it wasn't just like totally spring-loaded coming back. I'm just gonna run with it, and if it squeals, I'll know I need a new tensioner. That's probably the case, so I may be doing this again, and if so, you get that video too. If you want to stick around and watch me put the airbox back in, you can. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Lots of 997 content, lots of 944 content. I've got old content on the 996 and on the Cayenne off-roader. Love to have you around for it. Thanks for watching. Not too bad. Definitely keep one of these on hand. I think I got it on there now. If you stuck around to the end, you get to see it crank up and see if it actually works. Congratulations.